Yeah.
Welcome everybody to episode 67 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson.
G'day.
How are you, Russell?
Very good, buddy.
Feeling
Very
good? Feeling good? I'm
feeling great.
We have got a huge show, and normally I don't sort of set the scene in this sense, but I think tonight's episode is going to be absolutely massive.
It is a little bit special.
We've got a first in a listener's voicemail. We have an extremely special guest coming on the show. And for those that are on the YouTube and the TikTok, I'll probably release a TikTok. I'll do a reel and, use all the technology. Anyone watching the video feed, I've got a little bit of a reveal. Now, everybody's heard me talk about wearing a t-shirt to the hobby hangout.
Yeah.
And the hobby hangout is only a short while away on March 5th down at the Melbourne Pavilion. And at this event, I will be showcasing some You Can't Comp This t-shirts.
Yeah.
Well, my first t-shirt. We've got a couple here, a couple of different slogans. I'm going to stand up and do a bit of a reveal, and then Russell, you're going to stand up and do a bit of a reveal. This is for audio guys. We're really struggling to do the visual side, but
I think what we should do, Ad, is petition Adam to get you up on the stage, and you can do sort of like a walk around with the t-shirts on, like a model.
You're only saying this because you're in Denpasar. You're only saying this because you're overseas. The next hobby hangout, we're going to invite you to speak. That's going to be that's your comeuppance. All right, I'm gonna. I mean, I'm not going to be near the microphone, so I might drop out a little bit. But
sure.
Watch my lovely little. Get my camera out there. That's right. I have a T-shirt that says, "That's right, regulate the hobby." Now,
in big, large yellow letters. So
yellow and purple.
Yep.
And I hope I've done that right, and I hope I look
perfect.
Yep,
it's perfect. Yeah.
All right, you can see we've got the lovely new logo that Al did for us on the back. We've got a T-shirt. I pulled my finger out. I went and investigated. Now, what are you wearing there?
That's some pocket change.
Some nice hashtag pocket change.
That's on the back, it's got the same logo, so I probably don't need to, model it twice. You did it so perfectly.
I can do it again. I could do it. I just do the spin around.
You're quite good at that spin, Ad.
You can tell why we've started off with audio. That's all I'm gonna say. So we've got a couple of slogans there. What my thought is, we're gonna test the market a little bit. I'm gonna wear it to the hobby hangout, and if I don't get beaten up, we might put a couple of polls up on the Facebook.
When you say beaten up, you mean like people are going to beat you up and steal your T-shirt, right?
We'll see. If I get rolled for my T-shirt, we'll be selling them the next day. That's right. It'll be someone will have it on a marketplace auction. The original. I thought we'd put a few different slogans out there. We've got a couple of T-shirts each. You've got one that refers to the Fallujah factor.
Yeah.
I've obviously got regulate the hobby, and we've both got the pocket change one, as well as another beautiful one that says show us your comps. So when we put up the poll, when we sort of test the market, if there are some catchphrases, you guys, I'm sure someone's going to refer to the word delicious.
Yeah.
At some point. But yeah, like any slogans, and we're going to see if anyone's interested, and we're going to look to have a little bit of You Can't Comp This merch available for our lovely listeners, loyal listeners.
That sounds fun.
It is. Speaking of loyal listeners and the awesome group that we do have, we still haven't. I'm not going to wait for our first email, because I think we actually have exchanged a lot of emails.
Yeah, I think we have, to be fair, but we just haven't really dedicated an entire episode to it, have we?
No, but this is a first, and it's going to be incorporated throughout this episode. This is our first voicemail. We received our first voicemail from a listener, and it was Lachlan Blunt. Got in touch with Russell and myself the other day.
Yep.
And rather than just listen to ourselves, I've been trying to learn a bit of technology and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little clip that Lachlan sent into us,
Yep.
and then we might not even break it down. We might ask somebody else to come in and break it down with us. But
Sounds great, buddy.
have a listen, and thanks heaps, Lachlan, for sending this in.
G'day, Adam and Russell. Love the pod. Listen every week. Keep up the great work. Thanks for having me on this week for a little segment for the podcast. I've got a little prospect research which will lead into a hobby question. While watching the Lakers vs OKC game when LeBron broke the scoring title, which big congratulations to LeBron on that, a massive accomplishment. One of my main takeaways actually as well was Isiah Joe for OKC shooting and playing well, I thought, which led me to do some stat diving and some card research on him. Firstly, I'll quickly run down any stats. Isiah Joe, shooting guard, 23 years old, almost 24. Picked round 2, number 49 by Philly in the 2020 draft. So he's a third-year player, 6'3", 165 pounds. Could use to put on some muscle and weight to help absorbing contact while finishing and defending. First year of a 3-year, $6 million contract with OKC, so he's there for the growth and rebuild of OKC, which will help his growth, I believe, as well. In his 48 games this year, he's averaging 15.7 minutes, 8.4 points, 2.1 threes, 2.2 rebounds, 1.1 assists. I know that doesn't sound too flash and nothing too crazy, but he is leading the league in three-point percentage at 45.4%, according to the statistical minimum of 82 three-pointers made. He's made 103 out of 227 this year. Some people might think it's Watanabe from the Nets, but Watanabe's only made 51, so the minimum of 82. Maybe by the end of the season, Watanabe will get to 82, but for now it is Isiah Joe. Also, over his last 5 games with a little boost in minutes, he's averaging 21 minutes, 13.4 points on 3.8 threes made and at a 59.7% clip. His rebounds and assists have gone up a little bit as well, 2.8 rebounds and 1.5 assists, but almost 4 three-pointers at a 60% clip over his last 5, quite impressive. He's also improved his three-point percentage from 33.8 to 45.4 over the 3 seasons, as well as his effective field goal percentage and his true shooting percentage. So he's shown consistent growth over his 3 seasons. He needs to work on his playmaking and defense a little bit, but for the moment you can't keep him off the floor without shooting. I'd probably do a low to high-end comparison, low-end comparison, or ceiling possibly of a Landry Shaman, and then a high end of maybe an Anthony Simons. So in my opinion, maybe someone worth having a look at, and maybe a little splash of some cash. And by little, everyone has their own budget, but I think, there's some cheap value which I'll mention in the next part, which is he does not have a Prism or Hoops rookie card, which brings me to the question, out of Mosaic and Select, which would you consider his true rookie card to be? I picked them 2 in particular products because of the price and availability. Other mentionable cheaper products include Illusions, Flux, and Chronicles that he's included in. In my quick 130-point and eBay research, I found the Mosaic Silver Prism rookie card to be available and selling around the 2 to 250 USD mark, whereas the Select Blue and Select Silver Prism seem to be available and selling around the 1 to 150 USD mark. Not a huge difference, but do you think that is the hobby deciding his true silver rookie card? Having such a limited run with no Prism and Hoops, would numbered cards be the play, as I found some Select Blue to 299 around the 3 to 7 mark. Also a few different rookie autos selling around that 10 to 20 USD mark. That includes a few Chronicle autos. Let me know what you think again, fellas. What you think the true rookie card is, and do you think that Isiah Joe might be worth a little bit of a play? Thanks again.
Wow, that was enough to warrant putting me out of a job.
It's impressive.
That puts me to shame. I do no research, like religiously.
Don't lie.
All right, I do a little bit here and there, but no, that was amazing, amazing from Lachlan, and I think it's our first voicemail, so I think it's worth breaking it down with our guest for this week. Is Russell's long lost cousin It's Jesse Gibson
Yeah.
from the Sports Cards Nonsense podcast. Jesse, how you doing?
I am doing great. Is it sad that I just made the connection that Russell and I have the same last name? It's 6 a.m. here, okay? It's hard. It's difficult to even get me to speak right. That's a big pleasure of mine to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, mate.
It's a lot of fun. I'm done with the intro now, so you guys can talk. I'm just going to be. It's the Gibson show, and I'm the ads. Literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have any like cool relatives that ever came over to the States like years ago? Could we be related? Russell, tell me you're a long lost cousin. I want to come visit. Do you have a guest bedroom?
We absolutely have a guest room that you're welcome to stay at any time you come down under. But unfortunately, no, my parents actually immigrated northern hemisphere down to southern, so definitely not the opposite way around.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe I gotta go talk to my. Oh no, my grandparents are dead. Never mind. I was gonna go say I got to talk to them, but they're not here anymore. All right. Well, family tree digging. We're gonna take a 23andMe and we're gonna see if we're related. How about that?
Done.
Is 23andMe, is that like a DNA test you can run?
I'm sorry. Yeah, here's my real concern on being on this podcast. I'm going to say so many things that the listeners aren't going to understand because it's
That's
like,
okay.
What is that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be talking about Vegemite the whole time. So I'm like, I don't know if they'll understand the words I say.
Have you tried Vegemite?
I have not tried Vegemite. I fully intend to as soon as I get some in my life. I've never actually been around it.
Watch out. There'll be a care package one day. You'll get one.
Do you guys like it? I mean, is it like a well-liked thing? Every time I see someone try it, it's always like, I guess it's okay. But yeah,
we eat Vegemite every day in our house. Like it's just a staple.
It is a staple on toast. Yeah.
Wow.
Our local bakery actually does this like half croissant, something else which is like drenched in Vegemite, and my kids just go crazy for them.
Okay. Yeah, you've convinced me. At this point, if kids are eating it, it can't be all bad, right?
Hand over fist. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So besides that, we're related. I've never tried Vegemite. I think this is a great start to this podcast.
This is amazing. This is great.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, what are we talking about here?
I think Isiah Joe. I think we should kick off with that because we've had the wonderful clip from one of our listeners, Lachlan Blunt. So Lachlan, thank you so much for that. And then Jesse, you very kindly put it up on the Sports Cards Nonsense page. So what was your sort of grasp on that, Jesse?
So the biggest question I got was, why am I asking about Isiah Joe? That's the first question that everybody asked me. But after we've moved past that and we've established like, hey, you know what? Maybe we're taking a shot on him. Maybe there's something to be seen down the line. Yeah, there's a little speculation.
Yeah.
Now let's really establish the baseline for the question, which is what's considered a rookie when you don't have a prism, when you don't have an optic. That was the main response, I think, from the poll that we put up in the Facebook group was, well, there's no hoops, there's no prism, there's no optic, which would be the main option. So in this case, I think the overwhelming answer was Select. Select has to be the go-to, followed by Mosaic. I threw up a few other options in there, some Recon and some elite other brands that are out there, but they're just not as popular. But Select is the overwhelming response to be the rookie for him.
Yeah, I think I saw it and was like, automatically think Select.
Yeah, I think too, it's just like a more, like when I think of a rookie card, I often think, what's the card that guys, the most people could actually get their hands on? Even though, I like to see a lower pop count, but ultimately I think of some kind of rookie base being available to the masses, and Select would often be a little bit more affordable than Mosaic. So yeah, I guess in my head, I was also leaning towards Select as well.
Yeah. The funny thing for me is that I feel like Panini's really trying their hardest to increase what's in each set. And so then not to include even a second round pick into the set, like that seems to me like almost a bit counterproductive to all the, extra players that have put into sets to try and, naturally buff out the print run. So for me, like, I'm very sort of like, not too sure about, why he isn't there. I think the thing I like about this kid is that, his game is very much suited to the modern NBA game and, where it's all going.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably also say, the funny thing for me, so when you look up his stats, what's a little bit harder to find is his wingspan. So he's got like a 6'8" wingspan, which for a 6'3" guy is like, is freakish.
Yeah.
And I think
mean,
OKC really likes guys with big wingspans. And I think where they've maybe come undone a little bit with their prospecting and their scouting has been they've gone more for athletes than like true basketball skills. So maybe this guy sort of fits their profile a little bit better. Sorry, Jesse, I cut you off then.
No. I'm totally fine with that. I get cut off by Mike like constantly. So
I'm very aware of that, actually. I'm very aware of that. Yeah.
This has been a pleasure at this point. I am curious. Do you guys like? Is Isiah Joe? Because again, as I mentioned, was not someone that anybody had any, I guess, real thoughts or opinions about because they hadn't given him any consideration. I'm curious how it relates to the U.S. versus Australia because to be fair, I'm not sure how big NBA American NBA basketball is down there. Would you say that name is maybe more regarded as I guess a potential prospect down there, or is this just one of those like random guys that a listener wanted to ask about? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it's the latter.
Definitely
I think
the latter. Yeah.
Lachlan is just like a hardcore NBA, nerd, and it's someone that who's really taking his attention. And like, frankly, now that he's raised all the facts that he did, I think it's actually like worth a conversation. So I'm all aboard this. I think going back to your point before about what sets is he in, and then how do you sort of comp that out. So I think my comp for Isiah Joe would be Anthony Simons as a high level, and then Landry Shamet as a low. And then another one could be JJ Redick and Shake Milton. So that was like, sorry, no, Lachlan's comparison was Anthony Simons and Landry Shamet, and mine was JJ Redick and Shake Milton. Sorry, my notes aren't very good. But the reason why I specifically put Shake Milton in there is because Shake Milton also doesn't have a Prism rookie card, and he doesn't have an Optic rookie card either. So the one that everyone chased for Shake Milton was Revo.
Okay.
And if you look up Shake Milton's rookie card prices, there's, in comparison to other Revo cards, there's quite a bit of a bump there. So I wonder if, you could directly comp Isiah Joe with Shake Milton and sort of, price that out from there. So in terms of, if you are looking at this and you're looking to see how much should I spend on this guy, maybe just, spend 10 minutes checking out some Shake Milton prices, because I think, that's sort of where it's at.
Well, I think you've done exactly what Mike and I talk about often, which is when you can't find a player's, real rookie, or you can't find a comp on a card that you really want to know about. What do you do? And that's you're describing exactly what we always mention, which is find a similar player who is in a card set that is, this player's in that has sold, find something comparable and then go from there, because that's really, I mean, that's all anyone can do. And then you can price it out from there if you're actually looking to sell it. And if someone buys it, then, you weren't too far off. But
yeah,
at this point in time, I think you're probably handling it exactly how we would have. It's just compare a similar player.
Yeah.
And I think for me, in terms of what cards would I buy in for this guy, I found an NT horizontal RPA for 100 USD. And this could speak a lot about my sort of, card journey, where I'm at, because I feel like I've done a lot of base and I've done a lot of holos, and I don't really want another 50 cards in my card box. I'd probably just rather like speculate on one card for this guy. And I feel like for 100 USD, like that's a pretty good buy-in. Like I've bought some lower end sort of like horizontal NT RPAs for that sort of 50 Australian mark, which is probably around like 35 USD, sort of something around that.
Okay.
And probably what I could have done, now a better spend would be that $100 on someone like Isiah Joe, because he's got everything. He's got the tools that you need to succeed in the NBA.
Yeah.
And
Can I ask you a question, just in general, about cards in Australia? Would you say, I mean, overall, would you say that there are a less amount of cards in Australia than what you would see in the U.S.? I mean, that's a fair
Certainly, yeah.
assumption.
Yep.
Okay.
Very simple. We do have relatively good supply in
Oh, okay.
Australia, but we don't have the volume as far as trade shows and things like that go, if that
So
makes sense.
with that being the case, like, so we're talking about like getting a national treasures. Are you going after autos more often, or patch cards more often, or numbered, like something to differentiate from base? Because I mean, there's been the conversation, base is the devil. They overproduce it. There's too much of it. It's overpriced in some cases. But I would think, like, if there's a limited supply, maybe you guys are looking to get your hands on whatever you can. But I know around here, a lot of times lately, guys are leaning more towards, like, well, if it's not numbered, if there's not some kind of like rarity to it, then they may be not as inclined to purchase.
Yeah.
well, I think that sentiment to me is more about the journey, because I think when you first start out, you just buying cards,
Yeah.
buying cards,
Yeah.
and you're really
Fair.
enjoying it because it's exciting, and you enjoy the artwork, and you're sort of connecting with these players that you haven't really spent
Yeah.
much time paying attention to. But then I think it gets to a point where you've got 6,000 or 10,000 cards in a box, and you kind of go, well, I've got enough base, and now I want to start
Yeah.
focusing on short
Yeah.
printed or autos or whatever. But I think, more to answer your question specifically about the Australian divide between the Australian market and the US market and the travel distance, I think the internet and FedEx these days have solved all of those problems. So for me, I go into US breaks, and then I get it
Hmm.
sent to a freight forwarding service, and then every so often I get it shipped out. Like, do you know what I
Yep.
mean, mate? Like,
Yeah.
honestly,
Smart. Okay.
like all that, those borders and boundaries that we probably
Yeah.
previously had, I really feel like, I'm not saying there's
I suppose
nothing there, but
it's a
it's
prospecting question at the moment of what are we buying if we're prospecting a player. Like, we're not going to go after a bunch of this guy's base cards, but
Yeah.
then the other end of the tree is the National Treasures RPA. So it's like, are we looking for numbered cards in select? Are we
Hmm.
looking for? Are we just looking for base? Are we looking for variation holograms? Like, what are we doing as part of the prospecting process? Like,
Yeah.
because
Well,
the RPA is is the opposite end of, I suppose, what you're doing when you're acquiring a prospect. Although
yeah, for
100
sure.
USD is, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
and I
not
find it
pocket
interesting.
change, but yeah.
And I think it's interesting too that you guys are able to. So that comment earlier, Russell, that you made about being able to get product, and that that divide is not really there so much like it used to be, thanks to FedEx and Amazon and all those. It's an interesting comment because oftentimes we get guys reaching out about, oh, I'm not in the US, so I can't get these things. But it sounds almost like there's probably services in place, because I mean, I've always heard about, if for our Canadian listeners, they'll use a similar service where a freight company where you can basically ship it all to this one place, and then they'll ship it to you every
Yep.
few weeks or month or however to defray on the shipping cost. I wonder if there needs to be more talk, and on our podcast, we can definitely do that more, I know, but be more transparent of, like, hey, if you're just because you're an international listener doesn't mean that you can't be pretty fully involved in this hobby space
Yeah.
and be able to get what you want.
Yeah, so yeah, that is actually a good topic to talk about. I think that the reason why we haven't done that specifically is because it's almost like giving somebody financial advice. Like, it's a little bit of a
Mm-hmm.
sort of a delicate area to go in. And I'd probably also say too, like, then it sort of goes into that like conflict of interesting. Like, if I said to you, use X shipping service, and then you had like a whole, horrible experience, that would be pretty tricky. But I suppose you could
Sure.
talk about it in
You can
terms
do it
of
as a
like,
top 10.
like generic strategies or something like that, because I feel like, to be honest, it really took me a good 3 years to sort of get down my sort of shipping routine and, like work it all out. Like even
Yeah.
the way that I pay for things, like I've sort of got that down to like a very sort of like, well-oiled machine at the moment. And to be fair, I could probably improve that still, you know what I mean? So
Interesting.
yeah.
Would you say like you feel like you're paying a good bit more than say if you were in the States, or would you say it's probably pretty comparable to?
So the two things that make it really difficult is the exchange rate. Like the exchange at the moment
Yeah.
is really difficult.
Yep.
And then the other thing that's like really kicked off in the last, I would say like 4 months is because petrol's so expensive. So shipping has also gone up a lot.
Freight, yeah.
Like I would probably say that my shipping per box is almost doubled like the last 4 months.
Are you serious? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
So I am also curious. What do you guys have card shows? Do you see like other than
That's
say,
the perfect segue to go into our sponsor ad.
Yeah,
Oh,
fine. All right.
Just leave it there.
So yeah, we do. We have a regular trade show in the capital cities called the Hobby Hangout.
Yeah.
We've got one coming up in our hometown in about a week, the 5th of March.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Russell's going to be in Denpasar. Yeah, we're lucky you. So stop making suggestions of what we can do, because we means me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Hobby Hangout's a really nice local card sort of convention that has been organised. There's a few trade shows here and there, but nothing major. Like it's
We don't have the national
5,000 people turn up or 10,000 people turn up,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much it.
Wait. How many people would you say show
So
up?
5,000 through the door.
That's still. I mean, 5,000 people is not bad. How often do you have the show?
It's we get one or maybe two in each state.
I think they're trying to do 2 in a calendar year now. I think that's their
Yeah.
goal. Yeah.
2 in a calendar
So
year.
there's like
Okay.
effectively 6. It's Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, up
And
the
what's
east
the
coast.
more popular products there? Well, I shouldn't say products, but sports. Like, is it? I just always assume if it's outside the U.S., soccer is probably the number one thing. But Australia is probably a little bit different, or maybe it's not. Is it?
I think
is it soccer or
NBA.
is it NBA?
NBA would be probably one of the headlines. Soccer's been growing for sure.
Okay.
There's some people in F1,
Any
which has been
American football out there? at all?
yeah, quite a little bit of that, a little bit of baseball.
I would say maybe
okay.
5% compared to say NBA is.
But yeah,
Is that?
NBA is extremely dominant from
Interesting.
our perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I am very fascinated by the markets outside the U.S. Like we'll have in a couple of weeks, we're going to have on one of our regular guys, Jason Flynn from the Soccer Cards United podcast, and he's over in Ireland, but they go over to the UK and they'll talk about card shows over there. And of course, soccer is always big, but it's also I'm more interested of like how much it's growing in popularity, because like while in 2022 we were seeing like a slowdown in the US market, or maybe I wouldn't even necessarily call it a slowdown, maybe more of a balancing act to even out what happened in 2021 with the huge spikes. The overcorrection is what was probably happening, but we were seeing Canada's card market growing leaps and bounds over that same time period last year.
Yeah.
I was curious if have you guys seen as of recently a similar growth in the card market, or has it been maybe more steady increase or decline?
I think our trends are similar to US, to be honest. Like I think
Yeah.
we had the same spikes that you did, and then we're experiencing the same sort of slowdown.
Okay.
So yeah, my observation would be similar to what US breakers are sort of experiencing at the moment, with that sort of slowdown and like all the price reduction and discounting break spots and all that type of stuff. I think we're experiencing the exact same thing here.
Yeah, I think it's more of a market correction than anything, like because everyone lost their minds through COVID.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like I think I don't know. It's definitely a slow or a plateau that we're on at the moment. It doesn't feel like we're not in a tailspin decline, but yeah, it feels like the hobby's healthy. Like people feel, even though we're going into financial difficulty, like with all these interest rate rises and the economy struggling, people are finding cards to be more affordable again. So,
Do you guys know who Jeff Wilson is? Like the sports card investor is his
yes,
name.
yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So he's big in the States as far as like his hobby content
Yeah.
that he puts out. Like him or hate him, whatever you feel about him, I do think some of his stuff is worthwhile. And I saw on a recent social media post of his, he was basically looking up Google Trends of what's been, what people are talking about more often.
Yeah.
And sports cards was one of the first things that he was looking up. And when you compare like the amount of times sports cards is searched on Google over a timeline, right now he showed on this graph, we're seeing almost the same amount of searches for sports cards as we were back in 2001. Like
Yeah.
it's been a steady increase, but then there's like a sharp increase here in the last few months. So even though like we may not be seeing those same kind of prices, it definitely gives me a positive outlook on the hobby as a whole because of that.
So my take on that is that I wonder if people are spending their money in different places. So I think before people put like a lot of money into breaks, I wonder if at the moment, like, people aren't stupid. Like they'll sort of find places of value. So like, for example, I think at the moment singles is like quite good value. And then we were talking about this last week on the pod, like go onto eBay and start looking at the prices of what sealed boxes are selling for. It's almost at the point now where I actually wonder if people have bought up stock and now sort of got a bit panicked and now they're just like selling it off on like 99-cent auctions. And then the people who are like spending money irregardless of, whether the economy's up or down. So now they're just like, well, I could go into 2 or 3 breaks or I could buy this, single sealed box.
Yeah.
So, and, whereas the narrative is maybe put out by the noisy minority on social media that everything is, bad. But like my personal experience, I think actually at the moment the hobby is in a really good spot because I think things are a bit more affordable. I can tell you from my own PC perspective, there was cards that I never realistically thought I could get my hands on, whereas now they've almost like slid into my back pocket. So
Interesting.
That's my sort of. What's your take on that, Ed?
Look, I'm seeing a lot more people like it. The economy makes things distorted, but there are still people trying to buy and sell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's not everybody selling, so it's not a sellout. It's it looks like there are transactions being done. There is new blood coming into the hobby from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
it's not people selling everything and trying to jump ship.
Yeah.
So
my take is that too, we're seeing, like we've talked about, a correction in the market as far as pricing goes. But those guys who got into the market in 2001, a lot of people jump on board because that's what everybody's doing, right? Just because that's the hot thing at the moment. So there was probably a lot of new blood people who aren't in the hobby because they're collectors and maybe they were just looking for a quick flip or maybe make a little money at the same time.
Yep.
And now they don't care about these cards. They consider it a loss or a wash. And some people are just getting rid of cards for very cheap. And so it can give some the sense like, oh, the card market's not doing as well because these cards are selling for, little to nothing, where in fact it's the guys that really aren't in the hobby to begin with. They're getting rid of some of their things, and there's definitely going to be some benefits to the guys who are still in the hobby or the new blood that's coming in, getting in at a healthy, reasonable price. Because, there's also still a lot of bag holders from 2021 who got in at like how many multiples of what the card value actually is worth. And so
who bought base Zion PSA 10.
Exactly. And so now that we're seeing, okay, well, there's people coming into the market. Obviously there's still new blood entering, but now they're getting in at reasonable prices. Yeah, you're probably going to see some cheap stuff going because those are guys who don't care anymore. It's a loss and they don't even really know anything about the card market. That's fair. But now that you've got new blood coming in, getting cards at lower to reasonable comps, I think you're seeing a beginning of what probably Fanatics and the rest of the card market is really hoping to be like the real resurgence of this hobby.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys saw, we had the David Liner. He's the president of Fanatics Collectibles Trading Cards on the podcast last Thursday, and he was talking a little bit about Ruben, the CEO of Fanatics altogether, some of his comments about where they were taking the card space, and they're saying over the next 12 months they're going to be actually really marketing cards, like trading cards, which is something
hasn't really been
never
done.
been done. Yeah. So to think
cool.
that we are seeing new blood come in, you're seeing marketing going after even more people. I think it's a real, rolling this ball downhill. I'm really hoping it's going to get steeper and we're going to see this thing really take off.
Yeah, so can we just segue? So a couple of weeks back, I actually found something on social media to say that Fanatics was starting their own live selling platform. So can you, A, fact check that for me? Is that accurate? And B, what's your take on that and how you think that will impact the hobby?
Yeah, Fanatics Live is what they're calling it.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, so it is happening. Yeah.
Yep. That is happening. They're talking about latter part of 2023.
Yeah,
nice.
Mike and I's at the Card Shop Live, we're actually we've talked to them a little bit about maybe joining forces in some cases. But
yeah, hold that thought about your platform. Can you talk about Fanatics first and then like do a full deep dive into your project? Is that okay?
Yeah. So the Fanatics Live, the only thing is there's not a ton of detail at this moment. What we know is that Fanatics is already reaching out to guys. I mean, they've been doing this for a while now, at least in the US. They're reaching out to card shops. They're reaching out to breakers to give them direct allocation. They're basically getting rid of that middleman, which, that was my biggest question before I ever entered the hobby is why is there this middleman, these allocators who are making all this money when really that's not needed. And now Topps and Fanatics have said, oh yeah, that's true. We really don't need these other guys here, and we can give the breaker, the seller, the cards at a reasonable price, and we can still make money, which in turn goes more money to the players associations and all that. So I think the idea of giving them direct allocation, then putting them on their live selling app, is going to be full circle at better business for Fanatics, which in turn, the better the business is for them, the more money they're going to plug into it. When that's marketing, that's promotion for players. The president, David, was talking about how they're pushing more and more players right now because their main sport is baseball. So the baseball players for Series 1, that flagship product that just came out, they're pushing that. The players are pushing that themselves on social media. So overall, the Fanatics Live is, in my opinion, going to be the next big breaking platform. Now, Whatnot is kind of like the main one, and you've got eBay trying to do something similar as well. But to think that you could go direct to Fanatics and more than likely, I can't imagine, get pricing much lower than what they're going to be able to provide it at, that's going to be a pretty hard it's going to be pretty hard to go to another platform in that case.
Yeah,
it's like a monopoly, isn't it, really? Because then you could get your break cards sent directly to PSA, because I'm assuming they'll have some type of consignment agreement with them due to their business relationships, on the back end.
Well, that or SGC, because they've been doing a lot of direct stuff with SGC. Like on the Series 1 baseball, they've got some promotion where everything SGC, every Series 1 card gets graded for like $9 with the SGC company.
Doesn't the Fanatics investment group have a investment in PSA also?
They'd probably have it in collectors, right? The owner of PSA. That may be the case. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
There was a time where everyone was buying up little pieces of everything here and there, so I forget who's got what.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. And so,
but yeah.
Tell us about your current project that you're working on with Mike, or projects, I should really say. I'm sure you guys have got heaps going on.
Well, Mike and I, our bread and butter is the podcast, right? Sports Cards Nonsense. We still, that's the main focus. But Mike decided back last year, or no, 2021, towards the end of it, that we were on Whatnot for a while when they first got started, and we thought, well, we could probably do this a little bit better. At least we thought we could do it in a more of a niche way where it's not everybody and their mom is on Whatnot, and there's not as much, focus on getting vetted sellers and more. It's less of a community than what we wanted. And Mike decided, well, let's try and build our own app where we do have more of that sense of community and more vetting and things like that. So Card Shop Live was born. It's really his baby. I am definitely a part of it, but at this point in time, it's become a place where the sellers all know the buyers for the most part, and buyers know the sellers. It's not where, you just go out and buy from one guy on the app, where of course you can, but we've tried to build it out where, if you trust one guy on here, hopefully you'll trust everybody. And that's really what we're trying to do, is build a community around it.
And what's some of the things you've done to try and safekeep buyers and sellers? Because I think that's part of the concern at the moment on eBay, is that the eBay sort of policies are so strongly written for the buyer protection that sometimes the sellers are actually left, high and dry.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we have kept it on. So you're probably you and anyone else who's gotten into breaks, if they're not on one of these, Whatnot platforms, then they're probably doing it through Facebook or just, an Instagram page or something like that. And they're having direct communication with the seller. We keep it as close to that as possible, where it's like, okay, so you didn't get your cards, let's try and make it right for you. Where at the same time, does it seem like you're scamming the person at the same, like, does it say your package was delivered, but you're now coming back and saying you never got it, even though, this is the first time you ever spent any money on the app, and it just seems kind of fishy. We try and keep it where it's almost a case by case basis, and we try and take in a lot of factors, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is the rule, like, we're going to refund every single person who says they didn't get their package, because Whatnot kind of does that. And at this point, we found, a lot of people are trustworthy, but you get into the app making business and you find a lot of scammers out there, just people finding little cracks in the system, trying to take advantage.
Absolutely.
It is crazy. But it's, as someone who's been a huge part of the customer service part of the app, which I have, it has been really interesting to see, the good guys in the hobby and the guys who are trying to just make a buck at someone else's expense,
exploiting others. Question on the app: Is it going to be Australian compatible at any point?
Is it going to be Australian compatible? Here's my thing, and I'm gonna
be honest, Jesse. It's fine. You can say it.
I hate to say this. It's probably not. It's probably not going to be anytime soon, because of the simple fact of we're not exactly sure how to get shipping to you guys at something that would be affordable on a constant basis. So
that makes sense.
But to your point, we do have some Canadian sellers who will use like one of those freight shipping addresses as their delivery address, and they'll just ship it all there, and then they'll have it sent out to them. So there's still options.
Yeah, obviously we're not going to, as Russell said, put ourselves in legal trouble. But there are services out there, if you're good with Google, that you can have your cards stored and shipped. Basically, get yourself a local post office box in the United States so that you have a US address, so that you can actually participate in things.
That's the best legal advice I've ever heard. I completely agree with everything you're saying. What was the name of the company you use again?
That's right.
I didn't say it.
Google.
Yeah, okay.
Google made me do it.
By the way, I hate to say this. I got to get going in another minute.
I was going to say, you said 6:40, and then, we totally get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that you guys remembered and respected that's it's nice working with podcasters who care about my time, because I say that to Mike and it's like, yeah, just give us like 5 more minutes. I'm like,
45 minutes later.
I gave you a hard out. That's what I had. But let me just say before I leave, absolute pleasure. I'd love to come back on at some point in time whenever you guys need someone who barely knows anything about the card hobby and is just here to try and make himself look better by saying yeah and huh and making some jokes every once in a while. So
it's been fantastic. We look forward to the sequel. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great. I'm sure your cousin Russell agrees with with everything.
Absolutely. Well, and I look forward to seeing Russ at the family reunion
That's right.
in May.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
Stop jetting overseas for boys' weekends and head off to the Gibson family Christmas, Russ. What's going on?
That's it.
awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thanks a lot, Jesse.
All right. Have a great day, okay?
Bye.
Cheers. Oh, how do we do it? Do we need to...
Jesse, don't leave.
You need to do a thing.
You can leave now. That's fine. It just takes like
Okay.
a second to upload, and then that's all done, mate.
I'm like, Russell, are we going to lose this part of the feed?
Yeah.
Because Jesse
I was a bit
left?
anxious. I'm like, do I say it like straight away now? But that's okay. Yeah.
And I ruined the whole thing.
No, you
No,
sweet.
it's perfect.
Okay. guys,
Have a great day, Jesse.
Thank you. I hope you guys do
Yeah.
too as well. Sleep good. I guess I forgot it's 11 p.m. there.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm still recording because I can.
Do you want to ask? Is there anything you want to talk about today?
We can go and do a little bit. Like there were a few
The two guys I want to talk about is Cam Johnson and Triple J. I think we should do that.
Okay, let's keep this rolling. And are you still recording or you've stopped on your end?
I had to stop it for Jesse to exit, so I don't. I think if I click new recording, it'll just keep going, but I'm not 100% sure. I've never done this before, to be honest.
All right, this could be a first. I'm still streaming,
Great.
recording. So
This is how it should be done.
this is like on the fly. We've just had a guest. I thought that was really good. I think we got through some of the questions we were going to ask. That was an evolved conversation. It just evolved.
Yeah, I was
going to
say,
I think
we didn't really follow the run sheet at all, did we?
No.
But that's okay.
No, that's fine. We've
All right, I haven't logged into my... All right, let's just click new recording. If you start a new recording, you might lose data that is currently being processed. Are you sure? What's being processed?
Oh, you and I are still being processed, are we?
No.
Oh no.
It just says the transcription, but I don't care about that. All right, Adam, let's see what happens.
All right. Well, we've got a video. Russell disappeared. I disappeared.
Hello, mate.
Long time no see. That was Are you recording or is it still in the waiting phase?
I am
Anyone that's
recording.
watching this on Twitch or YouTube is going to see my unedited.
I'm recording now.
Oh, good. And then you can just chop this bit in.
Yeah, let's chop it all together.
And you can add the welcome for the episode 68, and then you just flick to the intro.
Yeah, I think the intro is going to be weird because
We were very different
we
volume
already
wise.
no, but we already introed it. Then you introed it again in the second time.
What I'm saying is literally when I said welcome to episode 68 the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card podcast,
Oh, do you want me to put that
and
back
then
at
just
the start?
clip that little bit
Yeah,
into
right.
the front.
Yeah. I'll wing it.
Oh, this is we'll call this the MacGyver episode.
That's it. All right.
Look, just imagine how much content, how many reels I'm going to get for our socials with all the outtakes we'll have. I'll even make one of the dogs barking from the other night. It's great.
So I say at a minute we start recording. So are you happy if I just kick off?
Yeah, let's
right.
hit
So
it.
that was fantastic having Jesse on ad, and I think it's actually good because the last couple of episodes I feel like we haven't had much you and me time, have we?
We haven't had a lot. We've been really getting up with the guests. We're getting behind on like
We had
current
Ryan.
events.
Yeah, we had Ryan come on, we had Charlie come on, and then Jesse. So I just want to nerd out a little bit and just talk about some comps and some cards. So
Okay, let's do that.
I think
let's do
the
that, and
first-
then you're going to bugger off after this. So
probably
you know.
go to bed, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to. No, I mean after this week's episode, you're going to.
Yeah. Well,
You're
that
gonna
too.
go. You're gonna be overseas. That's all right. We'll do something. Anyway, let's nerd out. Let's do the
So
thing.
let's talk about Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay.
So he was drafted, really highly in this. So he's the same draft class as Luka. So,
Yep.
and I think that at that particular time, the Hawks were quite expensive in PYT. Obviously, Dallas was, the absolute standout. And then I feel like Memphis was sort of third, maybe fourth place in that sort of like PYT space. So, like Jaren Jackson was speculated on it and thought of quite highly.
Yep.
And then, somewhere along the line, he's just had like a very, very, very steady decline. And I do understand why people would, fall off him, the big man phenomenon where, bigs just aren't as collected as highly as guards.
Yeah.
I think that he was on the same team as Ja Morant. And I think I had that theory, previously about I wouldn't prospect or collect somebody on the Memphis Grizzlies from my perspective, if it's not Ja Morant. But, Andrew
It's
Dean
always hard. It's always hard to collect a number two. It's always
Yeah,
hard
I
to
mean,
collect a
Andrew
number two.
Dean very rightly pointed out to me that, well, what about someone like Bane?
Desmond Bane, yeah, fair.
Yeah, where he's doing, really well, and actually he's had like a good uptick. So, and that's fine, and that is all correct. And then I think, Jaren Jackson being named an All-Star was a little bit of a surprise. Like for me personally, I was surprised by that. But at the same time too, his game is very versatile. He, plays both ends of the floor. And I would probably say that people are getting more intelligent about appreciating not just points per game. Like, people do look at assists these days. People do look at defensive stats. And there is a lot more defensive stats readily available. And, clearly his advanced stats on, defense, obviously taking out blocks per game, which he's like the lead leaguer in blocks, but also, his defensive stats are just off the charts, all over the place.
Yeah.
So, for me, that's, I like that. I like to see people, getting appreciation that, isn't just, James Harden stats or, Russell Westbrook triple doubles, all that type of rubbish.
That the soon to be Clipper Russell Westbrook. That's great.
Yeah. Congratulations, Clippers fans. I hope you enjoy the Westbrook experience.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
So, Triple J PSA 10 base has last sold at $14.50. That's up 35%. So, if you're sort of looking at that and saying, that seems like pretty good value, it was actually, significantly lower than that previous to that. This is for me where it gets a little bit interesting. So, his silver is $60.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm looking at stats. Yep.
And his population count on that is 1,000.
Wow.
So the population count on that is not through the roof, but it's not minuscule.
Not minuscule at all. Now I can see lots of data.
So we can talk about this now, can't we?
We can talk about this now.
Yeah.
Our friends at
announce it,
Card Ladder.
Yeah.
Our friends at Card Ladder
You're better at the effervescent.
have obviously been listening to the podcast.
Well, we've been
we reached out and
we've been heckling them on the back end, like
and hassling, and we've been given some premium accounts, so we can look at we can look at data.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to help our breakdown each episode. So thank you, Card Letter.
We might even have some other announcements to working with Card Ladder in the future.
We hope so.
We hope to sort of be at least they're sort of responding and we're on their radar as far as getting a bit of support. Obviously they've got the deal with our friend Ryan at GemRate as well. So it's amazing just looking through some of the data, but I'm going to look through the last year of Jaren Jackson Jr.
Talk to me. What do you got for me?
Peak was back in April. Is it April 22?
So I would say it at some point. Does it tell you the all-time high?
Yeah, well, I can go back. The all-time was $750 US.
Jeez.
That's right. He definitely did a Jordan Poole.
That's wild, isn't it? So it's currently at $60.
Yeah, but you see what happens with
And he's an all-star.
yeah, and it's the All Star. That's view all listings. Change the date. Interesting. Sorry, I'm fiddling with Card Ladder, but to look at look, $60 is really good at the moment
For an all-star that's still very young and has got a long way to go, and his game is ready-made for the NBA. I'm putting this as a very strong buy.
Yeah.
And
look, the last 6 months he's been very, very solid, peaking at 127 back in October. But yes, over the last year, the peak was 250.
Yeah, but the last sold price was $60.
Yep. Looking at the last 3 months, yeah, and it's peaked at $160 now on All Star Weekend. Yeah, interesting. He's up overall though.
How that happens though, isn't it? You think that around All Star break it would pick up, but I actually wonder if people wait for these events and heaps hit the market.
Yes, I do think there is a delay of sorts. There's the players being selected for All Star, and then there's the actual game. So, yeah.
Anything else you want to add to Triple J, mate?
Triple J. No, I think you've nailed it. It's very interesting to see. Like the current price, that current price of $60 seems like really good value.
Yeah.
He's a number 2, so buyer beware. That's all I'll say.
I mean, but at some point, if the price is right, the price is right. And I feel as though this is almost like speculating. So instead of speculating on Isiah Joe, who's like, a low-end prospect, I feel like this is what I call high-end speculating, of someone who's got a bit more pedigree, but the price is, quite low, and maybe yes, his popularity is down, but you know what I mean? That way you sort of...
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But yeah, definitely one to watch. Good to see a spike, I guess, of sorts. Like he's sort of a resurgence to his career now, becoming an all-star. Definitely a surprise for sure. All right. Anyone else you want to nerd out on?
So the one that has definitely been taking up a lot of my mind fuzz lately is Cam Thomas. And I think a lot of that reasoning too is because...
I was actually going to say that when we had Jesse on. I'd be like, we wanted to talk about Isiah Joe because every man and his dog is talking about Cam Thomas.
Yeah. And I think, a part of that is... How can I say it? Like almost being, pragmatic about it, and just being a bit more informed. So I think the thing that I wanted to look into or talk about was the games that he scored big numbers, who was on the court with him? Because for me, that's interesting because did he get that many points because the roster was depleted? And like, yes, he's an NBA player, so clearly the guy can score. Or was he on the court with other players and, he fits well with other players and then, they did well. And then the other thing that I want to look at too was, did they win the game or not? So
okay, let's do a bit of a dive.
He had a 3-game run where he got 44 points, 47 points, and then 43 points. They actually only won one of those 3 games. So, small sample size theater, but at the same time, that's not the best, sort of reflective thing.
Yep.
Then who did he play with is the next question.
Okay. Game logs.
In the first game, he played with Edmund Summer, so this is not a great start. He played 39 minutes. Nick Claxton played 37, who's been playing at an all-star level. Royce O'Neal, who's a very serviceable but, more of a role player. Seth Curry, not to be confused with Steph, and then Joe Harris. So Seth played 19 minutes and Joe Harris played 16 minutes. Patty Mills played 30 minutes. Cam Thomas, 29 minutes.
Yep.
Day'Ron Sharp, Markieff Morris. So Kyrie didn't play. Ben Simmons didn't play.
This is part of the just leading up in the trade period.
KD didn't play. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first. That's the first game.
Depleted Brooklyn. Yep.
Yeah, the second game, Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Edmund Summer, Joe Harris. Watanabe came off the bench, Drew Smith, TJ Warren, Patty Mills, Dayron Sharp for 7 minutes, and Kessler Edwards for 5. And then the third game where he got 43 points.
And
So this is all from Basketball Reference, which is, if
Yeah.
you don't use Basketball Reference, get around it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons was in for 26 minutes. How many points did old Ben get?
Now,
2 points. Good old Ben.
Good old
Joe
Ben.
Harris, TJ Warren, Patty Mills, Edmund Summer, Drew Smith, David Duke, and Dayron Sharp. So again,
All
you know,
right.
we're not talking about you know, the Boston Celtics with Parrish, McHale, and Bird on the court, are we?
Yeah, we're now look. So we've looked at this span. What does that tell you about his prospects for the future? Is it a flash in the pan?
Well, for
Is
me,
it-
so I think last week on the show, my initial thought when I went on the show last week was I had in my head this whole thing of everyone was saying sell, sell, sell. And then I was sort of looking at his prices and then comparing to other people. And I was kind of like, well, actually, I wasn't that convinced.
You thought he still had a ways to go before he was at
Well,
Jordan
I mean,
Poole. Like
yeah,
he could have hit the Jordan Poole roof.
Yeah, look, and he might be a micro pool.
A puddle. Sorry.
That was excellent, Adam.
Oh god.
Particularly for this time of night too. That
Yeah.
was damn excellent.
Oh god. He will be a puddle. What are you looking at?
I'm just got an error on my screen. It's saying
Oh.
that it stopped the recording.
Oh, well, this is going to be awkward.
Okay, I'll just.
Huh. There you are. You're back.
Okay, we're recording.
Oh, good. I've been recording the whole time.
Wonderful. So, I think that.
And I think your microphones have changed. Maybe your computer turns into a pumpkin at midnight. It's not even midnight yet. How about that?
Yeah, you're right, mate. Is that better?
Yep. All right. So we're at Jordan. There we go.
So each time it starts a new recording, it refreshes the screen.
Nice.
I should probably tell you that.
Yeah, you just keep disappearing and things. I was like, oh, surprise.
Look, I suppose
Can anyone tell?
this could
that
have been
it's
his
really
Jordan
late at
Poole
night?
moment. So, you know, it's a sell, but at the same time, I'm not 100% convinced by that. In saying that, now that I've looked into, you know, the reason why he had so many shot opportunities, you know, and scoring opportunities.
Yeah, but looking at the new Brooklyn Nets, is he going to have future opportunity? Because Ben Simmons still plays there and he doesn't do much.
Yeah.
But Mikal Bridges is gonna obviously he's dropped a couple of
His minutes have decreased significantly since.
Yep.
Because the other
But
thing
it's opportunity, right? So the kid's put himself on the map with a few good games. Hopefully, post All-Star break, I mean, he gets another opportunity to sort of prove himself.
Yeah, but to go to your point on opportunity, so the reason he had so much opportunity is because the team was so depleted, and then what they did with the trade was they picked up multiple role players. So they picked up Bridges, Dinwiddie,
Yeah.
Cam Johnson, which I'm very happy to see Cam Johnson back.
Yep.
Royce O'Neal is obviously still there. You know, Simmons is still there. Joe Harris, Seth Curry. Like, so, you know,
Yeah.
yes,
Opportunities might be limited, is what you're saying.
I think he's still going to have scoring opportunities. And also, too, if you think about the players, you know, that he's with, like Bridges, I mean, yes, he did get 45 recently, but he's not he's not a gunner.
No.
Dinwiddie
Interesting.
does go
Dinwiddie's-
for his shot, but at the same time, too, he's still a playmaker. Cam Johnson
Yeah.
is not, I wouldn't say he needs encouragement to shoot, but he's not a ball hog.
Yep.
Claxton doesn't need the ball a lot. Dorian Finney-Smith is more of someone who sets his feet before he shoots. So, I mean, it's not impossible.
There might be opportunity there. It's a
So he took the third most shots
yeah.
in that last game.
Okay.
I think that probably does more move to the point of
The sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you never know. Like it's one injury away from him getting that opportunity again and then exploding. So
well, it shows what he's got, doesn't it? I suppose for me, it maybe just shifts the ceiling a bit. So do you look at like how much Jordan Clarkson cards are going for as opposed to how much Jordan Poole? But in saying that, Jordan Poole is still a 6-man, isn't he?
yep. Yeah.
So either you
But Poole's stabilized now, like hobby wise.
But when you say stabilized, what was the last sale of Jordan Poole?
Not $1,000.
I'm not expecting $1,000, but I think it gives you some perspective of like where
Yeah.
Cam's sitting.
Where are we? Jordan Poole. Of course, I want to see his base. Silver?
I'm looking through the list. It's actually quite hard to find silver. Alrighty. So, oh, jeez. So Jordan Poole last sold for PSA 10 silver, $187.
That's on the decline.
Just fractionally, right?
Dropped. Anyone that bought it for 1,000 and still holding, you're in trouble. You've done your dough.
That's painful, isn't it? Okay, so we've got Cam at around $60. And Jordan Poole around, let's round it up and say 200.
Yeah.
All right.
That's an interesting one.
All right. So if this is your final opportunity or final verdict for Cam, what do you got for us?
I'm not buying. Sell them if you got them.
Yeah.
But I think the ship might be sailing. So if the ship sails, I guess, pick him up. Yeah. Don't. He's not the next Jordan Poole, but yeah. If you miss the spike, just hold. He might get another opportunity.
And what about if you've got some raw silvers that are in pretty good condition? They look pretty well scented. Would you send them off to PSA?
Yeah, I would, because they'll if you get 10s, it's what?
Because particularly if you bought them before the spike, if you paid say $5 or $10 for them,
yeah, exactly.
If you're using Pool for a comp of 187 USD for a PSA 10,
yeah,
like that's still a viable, and the numbers.
Well, if it's under 100, right? If it's under 100, the numbers still work. So that's the thing. If he does get that opportunity and starts putting up numbers, then it's a no-brainer, right? So get some of them graded while you can, if you've got them in raw and they're in good nick. Yeah,
because there'll definitely be some Cam Thomas sitting around.
But my final thought would be: don't go chasing it. If you've got it, good luck to you. But don't go chasing it unless it's you don't want to buy on the high.
Well, thanks for indulging me on my little nerd out on Cam Thomas. That was a lot of fun for me.
It was cool. Yeah.
It's definitely been on my mind, so I wanted to explore that one out. So that was great.
Cool. I think we'll have to do a you and me show before you go off jet setting around the world.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Let's get something up and then I've got to start planning the hobby hangout.
Oh, this is not fucking recording.
That's all right. It can
Did
be.
you,
I've got
can
the
I
video.
Get, Can I get the audio of the last few minutes of this?
Yeah, that's fine.
Why isn't this recording?
It just doesn't like you at the moment. It's being a pain in the bum.
Total pain.
It's okay.
Yes, this last one is 0 minutes, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds of audio on recording for.
Nice. It's past the health check though. Ready to record.
You son of a bitch. All right.
But yes, all right. We'll tie it off just so you don't have to start 7 more recordings to get the
Yeah, I'll just get the audio off this last one.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Can you do that?
I should be able
hard
to.
to edit out, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll give you the video once I've finished clipping it if you want. It's not really.
I need the audio though.
You just need it, yeah.
I have
I'll
no
try.
idea how to
I'll
pull
split
the
it across.
audio.
I'll
You
get
can
it.
do that.
Yeah,
I need your expertise on this one.
I'm a magician. We've got a couple of days.
All right, let's do a formal ending ad. Then I can
Formal
edit that in.
ending. Yeah, what an episode! What an episode!
It's not every day you have a US guest on, is it?
We've had both Mike and Jesse from Sports Cards Nonsense, which I think that's a pretty big deal. One of the biggest podcasts in the space, if not the biggest.
Yeah.
And there will be a sequel with Jesse.
Yeah, he
nice.
seemed keen to come back, didn't he?
Yeah, I think we actually had a really nice talk with Jesse. I think he enjoyed not being interrupted and cut off constantly by Mike. I wouldn't mind getting Mike back on just so we can cut him off a few times, but
Oof, that's a tall order.
well, you never know. Might be a bit of fun. They might have one of us on and cut him off all the time. I'll be ready. I'll be ready. I'll tell you what. We'll send him a jar of Vegemite, and then we'll see.
I reckon you could buy Vegemite in America and
I reckon there are
ship locally. Honestly,
I have friends that live in the States and they're like, I miss Vegemite.
It's not rare. It's, you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know how you got the US foods like specialty stores in Australia? There's got to be an Australian specialty goods store in the US.
That stocks VB and baked beans.
Vegemite, barbecue shapes, all the usual stuff. But yeah, we'll far out. We've had Jesse. Thank you, Lachlan, for that question. That was
awesome.
That was fantastic. And yeah, look, I mean, if I'm missing in action, you've got someone you can call on, Russ.
Maybe
You can get him to do some research because I certainly don't do a lot. And then, yeah, of course, we're going to put some polls up for our lovely merch. I'll do the spin again because, regulate the hobby. And
do you spin?
I'm
Yeah.
falling over my chair. There we go.
I don't think we've got a future in modelling either. Pretty well.
This is how people get started. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Don't worry. It'll be all over the TikToks and the Instagrams.
The TikToks.
Oh boy. Don't worry. I'll start uploading some of this stuff to Reels. Yeah, thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to Jesse for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Big thanks to Lachlan for the question.
Yeah.
I hope we answered it. It sort of evolved and segued as it normally does.
Yeah, that's it.
Hobby Hangout.
And
Not
EJ
long.
Cards. Thanks, boys.
Thanks to EJ Cards. Hobby Hangout. I'll be there in a week. It'll be fun. I'll be doing some form of content there. I promise this time.
Talk to the guy that's got the Regulate the Hobby T-shirt on.
Yeah.
It will be Adam.
That's it. Yeah. My question might be what hobby rule would you mandate? Might be the question for the Hobby Hangout. Interesting. All right. Thanks everyone for
guys.
listening, and we will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.